Okay guys, doing a quick little video on the modifications I've made to my Xiomi M365 scooter. I bought it last year. So the first thing I did was put the 10-inch tires, 10-inch by 2 tires. I tried to put a 2.5 up front, but the inner bead was so tight that I actually tore the inner tube up doing it, so I went back to these 2-inch wide ones. I've got the hydraulic rear brake here, but there was a problem. If you try to use the original rotor that comes with the kit, it makes in the spacers, the caliper itself will rub the wheel. So I went back to the original rotor and less spacers. So it does work, it just doesn't use the actual rotor. So if you buy this X-Tech thing, don't even waste your money on the bigger rotor. You're not going to be able to fit it into this wheel. Alright, I got the little plastic fender brace there. Then I put a little plastic thing from a folder file to keep extra spray from hitting me. I got some thermoplastic there. You can mold it with hot water or a heat gun, and I made the kickstand a lot wider so it doesn't gouge into my apartment floor. I got some auto locks just for low security when I go to the supermarket, and they're on shapeways.com. You can order this a pair of these lock brackets, I guess, and they're really easy. You can just slide the lock in and out. I only have one for each lock. I have a black one on the black lock on the other side. But if I just had one lock, I'd just put another bracket down there to really keep this thing stable. I got some Reflexite tape, red in the back, silver on the front. I got the little cheap shopping hook. It works pretty well. And then put a little tape here on the power button in case it rains. A little cheap clock here. Some titanium bolts everywhere, actually. One of these little waterproof baggy things for my gloves and sunglasses. Strap around to the front. So I got this little LED light thing. This is a remote that I have on my helmet. This light, and it actually works. It has turn signals and a brake light that can hit with the remote control. The only issue with this particular one is it's impossible to see the LEDs during the day. These things do flash blue, but it's so sunny out that I can't really tell when I turn the lights on or off. I just have to pray that I remember. You know, you just click once, it starts flashing. Click again, it turns it off. So at night or dim conditions, it's pretty good, but during broad daylight, it's not so good. You'll notice I cut the end of my brake lever off. The reason why, I only brake with my 2 fingers, but also I got the ergonomic grips. The stock grips are round and your hand isn't shaped like a round object, so ergonomic grips make a world of difference. And these things are cheap, they're only like $6, so I highly recommend you get some grips, but that means you're gonna have to move the brake lever inwards, and you got to take the rubber piece out there, cut it, and in my case I decided to cut off the end of the brake lever. Okay, so you'll notice the Monorim suspension. This is poorly designed. Unfortunately, I think it's the only good suspension out there, well, decent one. So the reason why it's poorly designed is the ball bearings here. There's 2 bearings on each of these aluminum plates, one on each side, but there's an air gap between the bearings. So when you tighten this thing, it's crushing the bearings into their races. There should be a metal spacer between those bearings so you can't crush the races. That's what rollerblade wheels have. There's a little plastic spacer between the bearings so you can't crush the races. So this suspension has a lot of stiction. It doesn't want to actually move because the bearings are being crushed from the side. So it's a really poor design. Monorim, if you ever see this video, add the spacers. Come on, that's amateur hour. I upgraded the steel shock to this little EXA air shock, but I noticed a problem. You can't fit a pump head into this standard valve, so I had to get this 90-degree adapter in order to adjust the main pressure chamber. The negative pressure chamber is not an issue, it's right there. Also with this Monorim, here's one of the standard bolts. I stripped one of these just taking this kit apart. So these are the cheapest bolts they could possibly find. They're worthless. You'll strip them very easily. So the only reason why this one is still here is I had these titanium nuts, and there's not enough clearance for me to use the upgraded bolts that I have everywhere else. Everywhere else I have these grade 12 shoulder bolts. So they're super strong and they're never going to strip. And being shoulder bolts, they're smooth all the way across, so that's good. Another issue I ran into installing this is if you use the stock bolt here inside the stem, it'll actually start screwing down onto this bolt that runs across inside the steerer. So it literally warped or bent the bolt that was there. And so that's another reason why I upgraded to these grade 12 bolts, and I put a shorter bolt inside here to clamp the steerer down. So keep that in mind when you're installing it. Don't use the stock bolt that comes with this, it's too long. Okay, so that's what's going on there. So yeah, these roller bearings are good because I can actually trolley this thing around quite easily, like a piece of luggage. So I'm going to take a pause, and then I'm going to fold it. Actually, before I fold it, undoing this thing is really difficult, this lever. So I made a monkey fist. You can watch a bunch of different YouTube videos on a monkey fist. It's not too hard to do. But I did have to drill a hole here to keep it centered. Okay, so I'm going to cut away, fold this thing, and show you how to trolley this. Okay guys, I folded the thing up, and so you can see, because I have two pretty big inline skate wheels on the front, this thing is pretty easy to trolley around. And if I lean it back, it's super easy to steer. So if you're going into like a subway or something like that, this is really easy to do. So I do recommend that. But you kind of need the Monorim suspension to do it. Ideally, if Monorim was smart, when they do a revision to their scooter, these side plates here on their suspension will have a separate hole so you can add these wheels. Right now, the hole I'm using is the hole that's part of the pivot point, so that's not so hot. Okay, so I guess that's it for my mods. Take care, guys.